Hey guys, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to finally tell you all of the books, movies, and TV shows that I consumed in the month of July. No, June. See, I'm so like off kilter with what I'm doing on my channel versus like what's real life because I was like behind for so long. Let's just go ahead and get right on into the books. So I didn't actually read a whole lot of books in June. I've had a pretty lackluster reading month the last couple of months. The first book that I read in June wasn't even a book. It's like technically a novella, and that is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is, like I mentioned, a novella. It's part of the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. Well, I guess now technically a series. It spans the time between the first trilogy and whatever comes next. So it's supposed to be like a bridge book. It's supposed to close the door away on these characters' lives and set up the stage for the main protagonists of the next book. I've heard a lot of people say that this book is not necessary. I would say to that, yes, that is all true. Did this book need to exist? No. Anything happen in this book? Not really. Could she have just included this at the beginning of whatever book she writes next? Probably. But with that being said, I still really enjoyed it. That's saying a lot coming from me because I am such a plot-based reader and this book essentially has zero plot. It's like a fan fiction story that the author wrote of her own characters, if that makes sense. Like it was just an excuse for her to write about these characters more because she loves them so much. I just am so attached to these characters already that I'd pretty much read anything that she wrote in this world. That's still why I really enjoyed this, because I liked seeing what the characters were doing in just like a normal setting. With that being said, although this was totally not necessary, I really think she could have included this in the next book. I really enjoyed it and gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in June was The Accidental Bad Girl by Maxine Kaplan. I originally heard about this book from Lala over at Books and Lala. It has one of the most ugly, hideous, horrendous covers I've ever seen in my entire life, but this book is incredible. It's about this girl who sleeps with her best friend's boyfriend, and because of that, she becomes entangled in this local drug ring. So like that alone hooked me. Then I read it and I was blown away because it's more than that. It's like this incredible social commentary on like the sexual scene. Does that make sense? What am I trying to say here? The best thing that I can compare this to is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, which is like the social commentary on rape culture and on consent and on slut shaming, and this was like that as well, except there was this crazy like mystery aspect, thriller aspect to it. There is a little bit of like a murder mystery aspect as well to The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, but this one was like marketed as like a more of like a thriller novel than like a social commentary novel. I didn't even know that we were going to get that kind of content in here when I first picked up the book and started reading it. And as the story unfolded, we had like all of this great conversation around it, and our main character is so unlikable but like relatable at the same time. I also feel like this book is a really great gateway book for people trying to dip their toes in like the adult thriller mystery genre. It has a lot of the same elements that adult thrillers rely on. It's toned down because it's YA. You could see all of the influence that like adult novels had on it, but it was appropriate for younger audiences. And I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Staring at my coffee because I really want to drink it. Now I have lipstick on and it was too hot earlier, so now when I do drink it, it's gonna be cold. I'm like all over the place today. I can't sit still. I don't know what to do with my arms. I'm a little flustered. Why am I sweating so profusely right now? And the final book that I read in June was Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. This one I would kind of describe as in the same realm as The Accidental Bad Girl because it kind of has the same interwoven narrative of both social commentary and a mystery thriller aspect. The mystery thriller genre in film and in novels, especially like older material, is known for having a lot of very like problematic portrayals of women or minority groups. I think it's very interesting that now this genre is like towing this line with social commentary. So this one follows this girl. Her name is Mila. About a week or so before the start of the novel, 2 girls in her class that are like part of the popular group show up dead in a local park. The police come to the conclusion that their deaths are from suicide, and then about a week after that happened, our main character Mila's best friend Riley also turns up dead, and they rule her death as suicide as well. Mila just never felt like Riley would do that. She doesn't feel like that's very in character of Riley. So prior to Riley's death, her and Mila were really into witchcraft of like the Wiccan varieties. She decides to bring her best friend back from the dead. So she raises Riley, and on accident, she also raises the two girls who died the week before Riley. So now she is accompanied by 3 zombies as they try to unravel what happened to them prior to their deaths. It has a lot of really funny situations because these girls are zombies. There's a lot of like weird qualifications to like what they can do in reference to each other and in reference to other people. I really liked how zombie line was approached, because zombies traditionally like really creep me out. The way that these zombies were done, the girls were so funny. There was commentary in this book for sure, because our main character is a overweight girl, and there is a lot of like fat shaming and like commentary on being an overweight girl and like her fears about dating and liking boys because she's overweight. Like there's the whole aspect of like the Wiccan religion coming into this as well, and like what other people perceived of these two girls practicing a different religion that's like very out of mainstream from traditional religion. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars, I believe. It was a little bit better than like average, but it was still pretty average for me. And those were the 3 books that I read in the month of June, and I'm so out of practice from filming that took me almost 20 minutes to talk about 3 books. And I was really hoping that I was gonna be able to do this rapidamente, and I was wrong. So let's just go ahead and get into the TV shows that I watched in June. So this month I actually didn't watch any TV. I haven't watched any TV in a very long time. Now that Game of Thrones isn't back this summer, I just like don't really want to do any TV watching. So let's talk about the last category, and that is the movies that I watched in June. I have to keep remembering that it's June, not July. So I didn't actually go see any movies in theaters in June. However, I did see 2 movies that are relatively new releases that I felt like I could talk about. The first one was Murder on the Orient Express. This is a book-to-movie adaptation of the book by the same name by Agatha Christie, which is like a classic murder mystery whodunit type of novel. And I actually really enjoyed this movie. One of the passengers on the train is this like renowned crime solver person who like helps police with investigations, and he's trying to go on holiday. All he wants to do is go on vacation and be left alone, and then this murder happens and he's kind of dragged into it, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but you know, he has to solve the murder, so he steps in. Because it's, you know, a small group of people who had access to this person and to the train. Everyone's pointing fingers at everybody else. Everybody's trying to blame things on other people, make other people look guilty. I had a theory about what I thought was going to happen, and I was completely wrong. It panned out in a way that I did not see coming, and I was very shocked by. One of those movies where you have to pay attention, you have to be in a quiet room and like be engaged and listen, because there's a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of information being exchanged very quickly. I stayed up until like 1:30 in the morning watching this movie, and I did not fall asleep. I did really enjoy this. I don't know if it's something that I would like regularly watch again and again. There was a ton of really talented actors and actresses in it, a lot of really well-known people. I thought it was a pretty good time. The second movie that I watched finally was The Greatest Showman. I watched this primarily because of the soundtrack. I thought that the music was so incredibly catchy. Like whoever wrote music for this movie like did a phenomenal job, because it was incredibly like current and catchy. But I was also uncomfortable with the portrayal of the circus life in this movie. Now we know how brutal the circus was and how it didn't treat its animals or performers very well. They made it seem very happy. I was also very uncomfortable with Barnum is like exploiting all of these people for their weird quirky talents, and like nobody cares that they're being exploited. They don't realize it the whole movie, but they're like totally being used. It made me uncomfortable, but I still really enjoyed it. Yes, I'd watch it again. I liked the soundtrack. Oh my gosh, and I totally forgot, but I did try to watch The Death Cure this month as well. My boyfriend and I sat down to watch it. We had both seen the second one together in the theater, so it had been like 3 years since we'd seen that movie. Probably should have rewatched it. We didn't. We just tried to jump right into the death cure. And I was so unbelievably confused the whole time. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea who the characters were. I had no idea why anybody was where they were. I had no idea why the plot was happening. I was so lost and confused the whole time that I just closed my eyes and fell asleep and took a nap. And I never finished it. Never went back to finish it. Never like rewatched the first movies to watch this one. It was just a whole bad time. I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't like it. I don't think they should have ever made this movie. They should have just like let it be with the second one, which was so awful and terrible and like the worst adaptation to ever exist. And they should have just like let it die. I don't know if I ever intend to go back and finish this. It was pretty terrible. So that is it. Those are all of the books, movies, and TV shows that I read and watched in the month of June. I'd love to know some of your favorites from June, any great books that you've read recently that I should pick up for the rest of summer. Tell me in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!